Well, the the just a simple revelation, which is at the end of the day, does it make me smile when I play it? And I and the answer is absolutely. And I didn't really focus too much on that in the past. I was all focused on getting it from the pre-series to this series, and the refinement and the debugging and production, and getting them out there and all of that, and having them be out in the field now for a while and be reliable and getting positive feedback from the customers. It's all well and good, but that being the end of that project means that it's off my plate for now, and other things that are pounding on me to get done are pounding on me to get done. And so any sort of residual thought about how are we doing, or is it everything that I hoped or thought it might be, or accomplished its mission.
So it's
there was no gray matter there to apply to that.
Yeah, so all the technical concerns about getting it across the finish line have now been erased, and when it comes back at you, it's just a playing tool, right?
Yeah, it's doing the thing that every successful product that we do did, which is they go out there, and I don't really hear much about it, where you would hear, it broke, or I love it.
Right.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to. Once it goes out there, it disappears into the void like it went into another universe.
Uh-huh.
That means that whoever owns it is using it and loving it and playing it, and the only time we hear from them is if they have a problem, or as soon as we ship one, it gets damaged in shipping, or a tube fails or something like that, we'll hear from them. Haven't really heard too much about the nuance, like, okay, here's what I'm doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
People are posting on forums about that, and one or two artists we get a little bit of feedback on, but not that much. Mostly it's just they're out using it. And so now that we have a bunch, a big batch to produce and get out,
Mm-hmm.
and the person that normally does just the routine play testing and final QC is out for a few weeks because of family concerns, out of state, and these need to get QC'd. I just take over. That's where I jump in and go, we got to get these QC'd. And
yeah, let's get it going.
Like the last person in line of responsibility to make sure that gets done.
Oh yeah, I guess that's me.
and in the process of doing that, I'm like, oh my God, I normally have a routine. I'll play a certain song, like Mississippi Queen or something like that. Something that I toothed at every single amplifier, just so I have a frame of reference, and so that it sounds the same every time. So I just play that riff.
Sure.
And but what I find I'm doing is I'm trying all kinds of different riffs. A metal riff, a classic rock riff, and something like that Cheap Chick riff that I was just playing, which I love. And the great thing about that riff is you can make it sound great playing a really classic rock sound, like with this sort of medium low gain and fat on the mids. Or you can just like do the Full Metal Jacket. And I find myself doing that because I can, and it's fun, and it makes me laugh. And the thing I keep coming back to is, this is really my amp. This is probably, of all the things that we make, this is the one that I would go take to a gig and have the most fun with. And we're doing 60s and we're doing 120s, and the 120 is just like a big gorilla kicking you in the stomach. And I love the sound and feel of it. But there's just something about the 60. It's juicy. In fact, somebody that just bought one last week, after they got it home, they immediately texted back, and this person has the previous D60, and said, what am I going to experience differently? I said,
I know.
You're going to set them side by side, and you're going to tell me what you experienced differently.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you all kinds of things, right? And as soon as he got home, we started getting text. Rad, juicy.
Agreed.
It's fat, more open, clean headroom, wailing solo sound. So the guy's going through the whole thing. And a distinct progression from the D60 that I have.
I agree.
And when he said that, this is how compartmentalized it can get around here when we're all pushing full bore all the time, which is, it just occurred to me that the original D60 was a distinctly different character of animal than the D120. It wasn't just a less powerful D120, or the D120 wasn't necessarily more powerful. The D120 also had a bigger footprint, chunkier and more aggressive, and the 60 was more in the upper mid forward part, and the bottom end was drier. The Series 2, the voicing is, they have the same phase inverter stage, which was not the case in the original one.
Oh, interesting.
So the D120 had more headroom, so it could really push the KT88s all the way out to full power without clipping. And the D60 didn't need that extra help because it only had 2 KT88s to drive, not 4. So it had a simpler phase inverter, so it had added different characteristic because of that. On the new design, the phase inverter that's in the new design is equally capable of driving 2 or 4 KT88, so didn't need that extra stage. And what that did was unified the sort of whole feel and voicing of both models. So when this customer pointed out that this is thicker and chewier than the D60, it's sort of the same vibe, but it's punchier and fuller, and I like that. I went, oh, that's right, and I texted him back. The old D60 had a distinctly different flavor. Remember we talked? He's go, oh yeah. He says, well, exactly what you said is what's the case here. So that's the great part to me, is when I think this is the direction we're going, and this is my attitude and feeling about it, and this was what the design was intended to accomplish, and then somebody comes back and gives me all of that verbatim kind of feedback without any prompting from me, then it's just like, okay, all right, it's all sort of validated, and I don't think about it. So when I'm just playing it to have fun, I'm having fun because it'll do all these things. It'll do what the 120 does, only with a little less horsepower, and it does what the 60 does because the depth control has more range than the original one, so you can dry out the bottom end and make it bark more like the original D60, but still in the clean mode, in the cleaner setting with the gain 2 down and the gain voicing down and the master volume up. There's more clean headroom, so it really. So it's a real clean. It's not a fizzy clean. The earlier D60 and D120 had a little bit of fizz in the clean, and this doesn't. You could set it up to do that, but you can set it up not to do that, which is really the coolest thing. Really turn the gain down and the master volume up to still have. Hear every string. So I'm just, what I'm doing now when I test them and just play them is I'm going, this is.
It is good.
It is a good thing. It's a fun thing, and I can hardly wait to. I have some guys that I jam with. I can hardly wait to drag it out and have some fun with it.
Excellent. All right, I think that's part 4 of 4. in the can.
Yeah, so for the person who's going, where's part 4? This is part 4. Thanks for asking.